that Vihar is still there. And if you go there, the monks will explain you the story behind the writing of the Tripitaka. So this Tripitaka is widely accepted as the oldest Tripitaka in the world and the only one that has been written by Arhat monks. All the other Tripitakas that I know, as far as I know, have been written down during the past 200 years or so. So any information I'm quoting from this old Tripitaka might sometimes differ from what you have heard already. And if that is the case, please don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. Just practice the principle that Lord Buddha explained in Kalama Sutra. In Kalama Sutra, Lord Buddha said, don't either believe or disbelieve what I say. Just listen to everything carefully, take it home, go through it several times, analyze it using your intelligence and wisdom. And at the end of the day, if you think it's right, you can take it, practice it, and you will get results very quickly. On the other hand, if you think it's wrong, just leave it out and carry on with whatever you are doing previously, but don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments. So I'm making the same kind request from all of you. Now, let's start with observing Panchasila. Then we will meditate for a few minutes, and then we will go to the Dhamma discussion for about 1 hour. Thereafter, I'll give you 1 hour to ask any questions. Now, before I forget, this is the last session of season 3. This is, I think, sermon 11, discussion 11. And thereafter, we are going to have a 3 months break for summer holidays because it's the time that most people go on holidays, school holidays, and so on. And also it gives time for people to reflect on the Dhamma that we learned and practice. But during these 3 months, if anyone has any questions, please send me a text message and we will arrange a mutually convenient time. And I will give you as much time as necessary for you to discuss your question with me individually. Right. Let's start with observing Panchasila. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu michachara veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapama dattana veramani sikkapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now we are going to meditate for a few minutes. Can you all please sit comfortably, either on a chair or on a cushion or on the floor? You can lean against the wall or the chair if you find that more comfortable. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath and let it out very slowly. Please repeat that 3 times. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, please repeat these Karmastana meditation sentences after me. May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. Excuse me. May all living beings and myself comprehend the Four Noble Truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. Let's repeat once more. May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. May all living beings and myself comprehend the Four Noble Truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, can you please repeat those Karmastana meditation sentences in your mind for 3 minutes, please? While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, can you all please take a deep breath and let it out very slowly? Please repeat that 3 times. Now you can slowly open your eyes, sit comfortably, and get ready for the Dhamma discussion. Let me please recap what we discussed so far in the last 10 sessions. Firstly, we discussed the Chutta Sutra. In the Chutta Sutra, Lord Buddha explained why it is so important and absolutely necessary for us to become Sothapanna in this life. Then we moved on to the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra and the Sothapanna Sutra. I explained the Four Noble Truths and the path to Sothapanna as per Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra and the Chutta Sutra. Then in the last session, we discussed Dveda Vitakka Sutra, in which Lord Buddha has explained how to practice Samma Samadhi, the eightfold of the Noble Eightfold Path. Samma Samadhi is Buddhist meditation. Sang means Raga, Dvesha, Moha, and Ma means completely eradicating. Samadhi is meditation. So Samma Samadhi is the meditation that helps us to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha completely. And that Lord Buddha explained in the Dveda Vitakka Sutra, which we discussed in the last session 2 weeks ago. And today we are going to discuss the Vitakka Santhana Sutra. In this sutra, Lord Buddha has explained 6 techniques which we should use to eradicate any unwholesome thoughts that will keep coming to our mind when we are practicing Samma Samadhi, in other words, Buddhist meditation. Now, let me read you the sutra from the Tripitaka itself and summarize it. Now, this is the Majjhima Nikaya, English translation by Bhikkhu Bodhi and Bhikkhu Jnana Bodhi, which is a very, very good translation. And this is Sutra number 20, Vitakka Santhana Sutra. The English translation is the removal of distracting thoughts. Let me read the sutra from the beginning. Thus have I heard, Venerable Ananda was saying. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus, Bhikkhus, Venerable Sir, they replied. The Blessed One said this, Bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu is pursuing the higher mind, from time to time, he should give attention to 5 signs. What are the 5? Here, bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu is giving attention to some sign, and owing to that sign, there arise in his evil, unwholesome thoughts, connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then he should give attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome. When he gives attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with his desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. So putting this into very simple terms, what Lord Buddha is saying is when someone is trying to practice Buddhist meditation, in other words, maintain wholesome thoughts and not allowing unwholesome thoughts to come in. So when one is doing that, it's natural that unwholesome thoughts will keep coming. So in that case, he says the technique that you should use is you should give attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome. So when this unwholesome thought is trying to come into your mind, Instead of allowing that to come in, instead of taking that thought in and cultivating it or ponder upon it, what you should do is give attention to some other wholesome sign that you can think of. So that is one technique that Lord Buddha is explaining. Then the second technique, he says, if while he is giving attention to some other sign, connected with what is wholesome, there still arises in him evil, unwholesome thoughts, connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then he should examine the danger in those thoughts. Thus, these thoughts are unwholesome, they are reprehensible, they result in suffering. When he examines the danger in those thoughts, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, connected with hate, and connected with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandoning of them in his mind, becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. Now, to simplify this paragraph here, what Lord Buddha is saying is, now, firstly, he said, when you are practicing meditation, if unwholesome thoughts are trying to creep into your mind, you give attention to some other wholesome thought. So that's the first technique. Now, these techniques have very subtle differences. It's important that you should understand those differences, because these are the techniques that will help you to correctly practice Buddhist meditation and develop it. So he says, when these unwholesome thoughts, first he said, when unwholesome thoughts are trying to creep into your mind, you will not allow that to come into your mind. Instead, you will start thinking of a wholesome thought. Now, when you are doing that, after some time, it's possible, again, the same unwholesome thought or another unwholesome thought is trying to creep into your mind. Then Lord Buddha says the second technique that you can do, instead of thinking of that unwholesome thought, you examine it, you analyze it, and you see the danger of it. And the danger is this unwholesome thought can lead you into doing the wrong thing, make you to do the wrong thing, and pave the way to go to the four hells. So that is the danger. So when you think of that danger, Lord Buddha says it will gradually go away from your mind, and you will be able to steady your mind and concentrate again on wholesome thoughts. So that's the second technique. You can see there's a subtle difference between the first one and the second one. In the first one, when unwholesome thoughts come into your mind, you, instead of thinking about it, you think of a wholesome thought. The second one, after doing the first one, still the unwholesome thought is coming. You look at the unwholesome thought, you examine it, and realize the danger of it. And when you think of the danger of it, that will subside in your mind, and that thought will leave you. Then the third one, if while he's examining the danger in those thoughts, there are still arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion, then he should try to pay attention to them. When he tries to forget those thoughts and does not give attention to them, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandoning of them in his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. So the third technique, what Lord Buddha is saying is, even after trying the second technique, after some time still, it's quite possible that unwholesome thoughts are trying to creep into our mind. The nature of our mind is as such. You see, we have trained our mind throughout the samsara until we become Sothapanna. Throughout our samsara, we have been spending most of our thoughts, the thinking time, on thinking of unwholesome thoughts. So our mind is always inclined to that. Whenever mind gets a moment of free time, it will start thinking of unwholesome thoughts without our knowledge. Sometimes, people call it daydreaming, and without realizing, our thoughts are running away. Our mind is running away with unwholesome thoughts. So here, what Lord Buddha is saying is, then you should try and forget those thoughts and should not give attention to them. Yeah. The third technique is, still unwholesome thoughts are trying to creep into your mind. You just forget about them. Not allow them to come into your mind. Just forget them. And keep thinking about the wholesome thought that you have been practicing. Or you can take a little break, have a cup of tea and come back. That also works. I have tried that. Then the fourth technique, what Lord Buddha is saying here, is if while he is trying to forget those thoughts and is not giving attention to them, they are still arising in him. Evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then he should give attention to stilling thought formation of those thoughts. When he gives attention to stilling the thought formation of those thoughts, then in the evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate and with delusion are abandoning him and subside. With the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied internally, quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. So the fourth technique, now you can see the difference between these techniques are very, very small. They look very similar, but if you really look into them and examine them, you can see that there are subtle differences. Here, the fourth one, Lord Buddha is saying, if that unwholesome thought keep coming back, keep trying to creep into our mind, you stop your thinking process, still thought formation, and not allow the thoughts to cultivate that unwholesome thought in your mind. So when you keep doing that, that unwholesome thought will go away from your mind. Then the fifth technique that is explained here is, if while he is giving attention to stilling the thought formation of those thoughts, they are still arising in evil, unwholesome thoughts, connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of the mouth, he should beat down, constrain, and crush mind with mind. When with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he beats down, constrains, and crushes mind with mind, then any evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion are abandoned in him and subside. With the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to singleness. Now, this one is quite clear, the fifth one. Now, after trying all four, still these unwholesome thoughts are trying to creep into your mind. He says, clench your teeth together and press your tongue against the roof of your mouth, the upper part of your mouth, and beat down constraints and crush mind with mind. And you become really, really determined. You tell your mind not to think of that thought. And when you do that, it says that that thought will go away from you. It will subside. It will be abandoned and subsided in your mind, and you will be able to concentrate again. Then the sixth one, last one, he has explained. He says, bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu is giving attention to some sign, and owing to that sign, there arise in him evil, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, with hate, and with delusion. Then when he gives attention to some other sign connected with what is wholesome, any such evil, unwholesome thoughts are abandoned in him, subside, and with the abandoning of them, his mind becomes steadied, internally quieted, brought to singleness, and concentrated. Here, there's a subtle difference between the others. Here, what Lord Buddha is saying is, when we are thinking of, let's say we are cultivating a wholesome thought, and every time when we cultivate this particular wholesome thought, a particular unwholesome thought comes to our mind, trying to creep into our mind. So when we realize that, instead of cultivating that particular wholesome thought, we will try and cultivate another wholesome thought. And that way, the connection between those two thoughts will be broken. We are thinking of a completely new thought, which has no connection to that unwholesome thought. So, for example, if you are thinking of, let's say, a car and trying to, cultivate a wholesome thought, and then this unwholesome thought keeps coming to our mind. So we will stop developing the wholesome thoughts related to the car, and we will think of that wholesome thought, another wholesome thought relating to a person or some other object. So that way we can break that connection. In other words, that particular unwholesome thoughts coming back to that particular wholesome thought. So those are the 6 signs that Lord Buddha has explained us to try when we are meditating, and these 6 techniques will help us to eradicate unwholesome thoughts that are trying to creep into our mind when we are meditating and trying to practice wholesome thoughts. So this is a very short sutra. You can read it up. I think it's on the internet. It's in Majjhima Nikaya, part 1, Vitakka Santhana Sutra. If you like to see that, I can show you. It's Vitakka Santhana Sutra. Now, the next thing that I wanted to explain to you today is how to practice the path in your day-to-day practice. My suggestion to you, there are many ways of doing that. My suggestion to you is if you can spare 2 hours every day, either morning or evening, whenever you are free, 2 hours continuously. If you can lock yourself in a room without any disturbances, turn off your phone, and first half an hour, you listen to a Dhamma sermon from season 1, 2, or 3. Start from the beginning. Half an hour, you totally concentrate on that sermon and listen to that. So what Lord Buddha said was, what you have to do is Kalyana Mitra Sevana, Sirisaddharma Stravana, Yoniso Manasikara, and Dhammanudhamma Patipada. The 4 steps one has to take in order to become Sothapanna. Kalyana Mitra Sevana is associating a person who is capable of explaining correct Dhamma to you, which will help you to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Then Sirisaddharma Stravana. Stravana means listening. Listening to the correct Dhamma explained by the Kalyana Mitra. So by listening to the Dhamma, let's say season 1, 2, or 3, starting from the beginning, this is what you are doing. You are doing the first one and the second one. Then you spend half an hour on the first one. Sorry, this is the first step that you do. Half an hour on listening to a Dhamma sermon. Then the next half an hour, you do Yoniso Manasikara, the third step. Lord Buddha explained. Yoniso Manasikara means what you learned for half an hour. You turn it off and you go through it in your mind, step by step, logically, and see whether you can remember. If you can't remember, you can go back and listen to it. And when you do that for a while, it will stick in your mind. You don't have to learn it by heart. Your mind will be able to remember it logically, step by step. What is important, comprehending Dhamma means understanding it logically, not paraphrasing, but logically understanding Dhamma step by step. So that's what you are trying to do. Yoniso Manasikara. Go through it over and over again. Analyze it and see whether, you agree with it. But how does the puzzle fit in? Because these are pieces of one puzzle. Then the third step is Dhammanudhamma Patipada. That is meditation. Samma Samadhi. So first half an hour, you can practice loving kindness meditation, as we always do at the beginning of the session. May all living beings and myself be healthy, and so on. And you do that for half an hour. And while you are doing that, if your mind goes away, then you go back to those techniques, the 6 techniques, start practicing them one by one. Initially, you will find it, a little difficult, but as you go on, keep trying more and more, you will find it not too difficult. You will be able to do it. So practice loving kindness meditation that way. And the last half an hour, you keep again practicing loving kindness meditation, but it's another technique that is asking for forgiveness, transferring merits, and wish them well. Firstly, you ask for forgiveness from the Noble Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. You can word it in any way you like, that really touches your heart. It has to come from the bottom of your heart. You can say something like, let me see, I have written down something here. I am asking for forgiveness from the Noble Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, for any wrongdoings that I have done throughout my samsara, mentally, physically, or verbally, knowingly or unknowingly. Please forgive me, please forgive me, please forgive me. So first you ask for forgiveness from the Noble Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. When we pray at the end of every session, we even after the Dhamma sermons, when we offer blessings, we do this always by saying Kayena Vacha Chittena Pamadena Maya Katang Achayang Kamame Bhante Bhuri Panjatathagata. We say that 3 times to Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. It's the same thing you are saying here in words, in your own words, which will come from the bottom of your heart. Then you think of all the living beings living on the 31 planes. You know the 31 planes that Lord Buddha explained. We keep talking about it. 20 Brahma Loka, 6 Divya Loka, Manusya Loka, the human world, and the 4 hells. 4 hells are the animal world, the Yaksha Loka, Bhuta Loka, and the hell itself. So you think of all the living beings living on the 31 planes. First, you ask for forgiveness from them. You can say, you can word it in any way you like. That really touches your heart. As I keep saying, it should come from the bottom of your heart, not just parrot reading. You can say something like, I'm asking for forgiveness from all the living beings living on the 31 planes for any wrongdoings that I have done throughout my samsara, verbally, physically, or mentally, knowingly or unknowingly. Please forgive me, please forgive me, please forgive me. You ask for forgiveness from all the living beings living on the 31 planes. Next, you transfer merits to them. You can say something like this. I'm transferring all the merits that I have accumulated throughout my samsara to all the living beings living on the 31 planes. And then you wish them well, and you say, with the power of those merits, may all living beings and myself be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering, comprehend the Four Noble Truths, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. So this is the practice that I have been doing, which I find very, very useful and productive. You could try that. But if you think that there's a slightly different way that you prefer, there's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to stick to this procedure or this method. You may slightly divert from it. But what you should do is during those 2 hours. If you can't find 2 hours, at least do 1 hour. Everyone can find 1 hour a day if you are really determined. I know there are only 24 hours a day, and some people work 12 to 16 hours a day. I have done it myself. I know what it is like. But still, if we are determined, we can find 1 hour. And because, we have 24 hours a day, and if we can't find 1 hour to do the most important thing that Lord Buddha recommended that we should do as a Buddhist person, we can't call ourselves a Buddhist, you see, because we are not practicing the path correctly. Just praying for a few minutes and meditating for a few minutes, that's okay for a start. It's like, starting education in the kindergarten. But we are not going to be in the kindergarten or the nursery forever. We move on, don't we? Because we want to attain something. We want to get a qualification, bachelor's, master's, PhD, or whatever we like to get, and then use that to get a job or start our own business or earn a living, because everyone has to earn a living in this world. So similarly, here, Buddhist people start with praying for 5 minutes a day, meditating 5 minutes a day as a young child. Then you have to gradually move on if you want results. Otherwise, you'll be in the nursery or grade 5 for the rest of your life. And you won't get that qualification. You won't get that job. You won't attain your target. You see, it's important. It's absolutely necessary that we should become Sothapanna in this life. And all of you can do it. It's not difficult. There's no rocket science in it. It's a question of doing it. You see, we have 24 hours of the day. 23 hours we can use on other things. At least use 1 hour for this. 2 hours is the best if you want quick results. But if you do it even 1 hour, and on holidays you can do 2 hours, that way gradually you can develop your practice, you see. And more you do it, easier and easier you will find it, and you will enjoy it more and more. Okay, so I'll stop there and give you time. I'll give you 1 hour to ask any questions. As I said earlier, I'm repeating it now. This is the last session of season 3. After that, we are going to have a 3 months break for summer. But any of you have any questions, you can send me a text message anytime. I will come back to you within 24 hours. We can arrange a mutually convenient time, and I will give you time individually to discuss your question or the problem and find solutions to it. Even 1 hour, 2 hours, it doesn't matter. I will do the needful, because I want to make sure that you get results at the end of the day. You become Sothapanna. That is my intention, my ambition. And I will do my very best to help you. But I can do only half. The other half is in your hands. If you do your half, I will do my half. Okay, so I'll give you time to ask any questions now.
Well, there is one question, Bhanteji, in the chat box from Dr. Karbari.
Right.
I'm not very clear about it. Mr. Karbari, if you can ask the question by unmuting yourself, please.
कारभारी जी, जर तुम्हाला ट्रान्सलेशन पाहिजे असेल तर तुम्ही मराठीत प्रश्न विचारा. मी भंतेंना इंग्लिश मध्ये तुम्हाला तुमचा प्रश्न विचारून देतो. ठीक आहे? संकोच करू नका. काय जे प्रश्न असतील ते विचारा. Bhante, I have asked him if he needs any translation help.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll wait for him, Bhante.
Okay. See, the question in the chat box is not very clear. He's asking several questions and they are not very clear. This is question 121,000 Sutra, Dhammaskandha in Vitakka. Abhidhamma Pitaka 41,000, Dhammaskandha total 84,000. In the Buddha's 82,000 and 2,000 Dhamm total mathematics. Send me thoughts and regards. You see, I don't understand his question.
कारभारी जी, तुम्ही अनम्यूट करा स्वतःला. तुम्ही अनम्यूट करू शकता.
Nagsen, can you understand that question?
No, Bhanteji, it's not very clear. What I
Pankaj, can you understand?
No, Bhante, I think we'll ask him to unmute and see
Hello.
if he can. Yes, please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Please, I am speak.
हाँ, आप बात कर सकते. मराठीत बोला.
Hello.
तुम्हाला जर तसं कम्फर्टेबल वाटत असेल तर मी भंतेंना ट्रान्सलेट करून सांगतो.
नाही, आवाज येतो का सर?
हो, आवाज येत आहे.
Hello.
बोला तुम्ही. हो, येत आहे आवाज.
एक शंका आहे, ऐकून आहे आम्ही आणि साहित्यामध्ये पण वाचून आहोत की भगवान बुद्धाचे उपदेश जे आहेत ते 84,000 उपदेश आहेत. त्यापैकी भगवान बुद्धाचे 82,000 उपदेश आहेत आणि 2,000 उपदेश श्रावक संघाचे आहेत. तर मॅथमॅटिकली हिसाब से ते कुठल्या ठिकाणी कसे मिळू शकतील 2,000 आणि 82,000? तर ज्याप्रमाणे दिघ निकायमध्ये 34 उपदेश आहेत, सूत्र आहेत, मध्यम निकायमध्ये 152 आहेत, तसे अंगोत्तर निकाय, संयुक्त निकाय त्याच्यात जे काही दिलेले आहेत ते मॅथमॅटिकली हिसाब त्याप्रमाणे कमी पडायला लागलेत. ते त्याची गणना कशी केली जाईल की जेणेकरून 84,000 उपदेश हे एकत्र करता येते?
अच्छा, आजच्या त्रिपिटकामध्ये तुम्हाला जर तुम्ही आजचं त्रिपिटक पाहिलं तर तुम्हाला 84,000 मॅच होत नाही आहेत असं म्हणायचं आहे का?
हो हो.
अच्छा, ठीक आहे. मी विचारतो भंतेंना.
आज जे उपलब्ध साहित्य आपल्याकडे आहे. हॅलो.
हा, बोला ना. म्हणजे तुमचे तिन्ही जर त्रिपिटक एकत्र केले तर 84,000 सुत्त होत नाहीत.
हो हो, कारण जास्ती सूत्रामध्ये आता जसं ज्याप्रमाणे आपण म्हणतो धम्मपदाचे 26 वर्ग आहेत. मग ते 26 सूत्र पकडायचे की 423 गाथा पकडायच्या? म्हणजे आणि जे काय अंगोत्तर निकाय आणि संयुक्त निकाय मध्ये जेवढे अष्टसालिनी मध्ये दिलेले आहे त्याच्या जवळजवळ 25% पण 50% पण येत नाही.
अच्छा, ठीक आहे, ठीक आहे. आणि वाचन कितपत झालेलं आहे कारभारी साहेब? कितपर्यंत वाचन झालेलं आहे तुमचं?
आता वाचन तर सुत्तपिटक मी पूर्ण बघितलं. सुत्तपिटक मध्ये या 2 ठिकाणी माझी गडबड पडायला लागली, अंगुत्तर निकाय आणि संयुक्त निकाय मध्ये. तर त्याच्यातले भगवान बुद्धांचे टोटल उपदेश जे आहेत, कारण आपण अभिधम्म तर कम्प्लीटली भगवान बुद्धाचा उपदेश आहे. राहिला प्रश्न विनय आणि सुत्तपिटक. तर सुत्तपिटक हे 21,000 आहेत, विनय पिटकाचे 21,000 आणि अभिधम्माचा तर तो कम्प्लिटली जे आहे तो वेगळा आहे, 41,000. असे टोटल मिळून 84,000 उपदेश आहेत. 84,000 पैकी 2,000 उपदेश हे श्रावक संघाचे आहेत, त्यात भिक्षू आहे, भिक्षुणी आहे. मग त्याच्यात आता गणना करताना ज्याप्रमाणे आता सुत्तनिपात आहे, सुत्तनिपात मध्ये चॅप्टर जर बघितले तर 71 येतात, गाथा जर बघितल्या तर ते जास्त येतात. म्हणजे गाथा पकडायची की चॅप्टर पकडायचे?
मी प्रश्न विचारतो,
मिळाली तर बरं होईल.
हो हो, मी प्रश्न विचारतो, पण भंतेंचं काही वेगळं मत असेल, आपण भंतेंचंच ऐकूया. ठीक आहे?
हा हा.
Bhante, can I try to explain his question?
Yes, please.
So Bhante, his question is that he has heard, we all have heard that there are total 84,000 Dhammaskandas or suttas or Dhammas that Bhante Buddha has given, out of which 82,000 belongs to Buddha himself, and 2,000 were coming from his Savakas, Bhante Sariputta or other Thero and other theories who had given some discourses. Now he is trying to map those 84,000 to Vinay Pitak, Sutta Pitak and Abhidhamma Pitak. So he said between Vinay Pitak and Sutta Pitak, they have each 21,000. So that becomes 42. And there are around 42,000 in Abhidhamma Pitaka. But he is trying to mathematically calculate those things. And so his confusion is, let's say in Dhammapad, you see 26 Vagga. But if you go by the number of Gathas, then it is more than 400, 500. So what should we consider that number? Whether we should consider 26 Vagga or 46 Gatha, and overall he just wants some, if you could comment on the Tripitaka itself, where can we calculate those 84,000? So that's his basic question, Bhante.
Okay. Now, Tripitaka depends on what Tripitaka you look at. There are 17,705 sermons that Lord Buddha delivered. And in one place, Lord Buddha says, I am giving you Suva Asuva Dahasak Dhammaskanda. Dhammaskanda means, Dhamma means universal laws, natural laws. Kanda means mountain, a mountain of natural laws. Suva Asuva Dahasak means, Suva means good things, the correct things that you should do. And Asuva means incorrect or wrong things that you shouldn't do. Suva Dahasak Dhammaskanda. But a monk named Buddha Ghosha, when he translated that into Pali, he mistranslated that. You see, Suva Dahasak, he translated as 84,000. The reason is, in Sinhala language, 84,000, now let me think again. In Sinhala language, Asu Hatara Dahasak means 84,000. But that has no connection whatsoever to the Suva Asua Dahasak, the 3 words given in Pali, in Magadhi language. You see? So this monk Buddha Ghosha has mixed those 2 things up. So it's a totally mistranslation. Suva Asua Dahasak Dhammaskanda, that is what you get in the Tripitaka, the wording. And it does not mean 84,000. So if you keep looking for 84,000, those mathematics will not add up. Point number 1. Point two, why should we look at mathematics? We should look at what Lord Buddha told us. Lord Buddha told us that what is important is to become Sothapanna in this life, which means comprehend the correct Dhamma and come to the correct path, the Noble Eightfold Path. To come to that, we don't need any of these complications, mathematics and going through all the sutras and so on. All you have to do is learn the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra and some additional information from Sothapanna Sutra, comprehend the Four Noble Truths, and become Sothapanna and come to the right path. You see, if you try to do other things like this, counting number of sutras and trying to learn all the sutras and trying to learn Abhidhamma, all these things, those are not necessary. You see, if you look at the Tripitaka, you will see that every person who became Sothapanna has become Sothapanna by listening to one sutra. You see, now the first sutra means sermon. The first sermon that Lord Buddha delivered was Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, and that was delivered to the Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu, the first five disciples, and 320 million superior beings who came from 20 Brahmaloka and 6 Divyaloka. So this is the main sutra that he recommended to everyone to become Sothapanna. So that's what we should do rather than going about, trying to work out mathematics and how many sutras are there. Some people trying to learn all the sutras in the Tripitaka. Some people try to learn Abhidhamma. Some people trying to learn Vinaya. These things are not necessary. You see, just look at every story. If you take Sopaka, Sunita, Rahula, Vitakka, young children who listened to Dhamma and became Sothapanna, they didn't know how many, all these mathematics, you see. Those are not necessary. All they did was they understood the Four Noble Truths at the very basic level and came to the right path. That is what one should do first. You see, rather than going through all these different paths, trying to work out mathematics. It's a totally fruitless exercise because they are all wrong. All those translations are wrong. Suva Asuva Dahasak does not mean 84,000. You see, that's where that mistranslation, makes some people to go on a wild goose chase. There are many teachers who are teaching Abhidhamma and all the sutras in the Tripitaka. Unfortunately, those teachers, knowingly or mostly unknowingly, mislead people. Instead of, doing what Lord Buddha said, they are doing different things. They are trying to either occupy the time or give people something to do or display their knowledge of all the sutras, which is not necessary. You see, the most important thing Lord Buddha said in this life is to comprehend the Four Noble Truths at the first level and come to the right path. Until a person does that, he's in the wrong path. You see, Mithya Dishti. So you come from the Mithya Dishti to Sammaditthi. That is what is necessary as a Buddhist. You must get your priorities right. That is what is necessary to do. And Buddhism is not there to work mathematics. And if you try to work out mathematics, you will end up in all sorts of problems. And you will not get anywhere. You will not get the essence of Buddha Dhamma. It will not serve your purpose. Let's say all these mathematics add up. What is it going to do to you? Nothing. Pankaj, can you explain that to him?
Yes, Bhante. Yes, I will try, Bhante. कारभारीजी, पहिली गोष्ट जी भंते म्हणत आहेत ती म्हणजे की तो जो शब्द आहे ज्याच्यावरनं ते 84,000 असा जो नंबर काढण्यात आलेला आहे, भंतेंच्या मताप्रमाणे ते मिसट्रान्सलेशन आहे. ट्रान्सलेट व्यवस्थित झालेलं नाही. त्या शब्दाचा 84,000 असा अर्थ होत नाही. सिंहल टू पाली. जेव्हा भंते बुद्ध घोष त्यांनी जेव्हा ते सिंहल मधनं पालीमध्ये ट्रान्सलेट केलं, परत जेव्हा श्रीलंकेतनं घेऊन आले, त्यावेळी जे काही ट्रान्सलेशन केलेलं आहे त्याच्यामधल्या ज्या काही मिस्टेक्स आहेत त्याच्यामध्ये हा 84,000 हे आहे. आणि त्याच्यामुळे तुमचे हे मॅथमॅटिकली जर तुम्ही हे ऍड करत गेलात तर हे कधी मॅच होणार नाही. हा पहिला प्रश्न आहे, म्हणजे ह्या पहिला भंतेंचा मुद्दा होता त्याच्यातला. दुसरा मुद्दा जो भंतेंनी मांडला तो हा आहे की बुद्धांच्या शिकवणीप्रमाणे जी सगळ्यात इम्पॉर्टंट गोष्ट ऍज अ बुद्धिस्ट आपल्याला अचीव करायला पाहिजे आहे ती आहे की आपण सोतापन्न होऊन सद्धम्माच्या मार्गावर लागायचं. मिनिमम ते जेथपर्यंत आपलं होत नाही, जेथपर्यंत तुम्ही स्वतःपन्न होत नाही तेथपर्यंत तुम्ही सम्मादिठ्ठीला प्राप्त करू शकत नाही. किंवा ह्या दोन गोष्टी सायमल्टेनियसच आहेत. वन्स यू म्हणजे जेव्हा तुम्ही 4 नोबल ट्रुथ्स 4 आर्य सत्य जेव्हा तुम्ही कॉम्प्रहेंड करणार, वाचणार नाही तर हे मनातनं जेव्हा तुम्ही कॉम्प्रहेंड करणार तेव्हा तुम्ही त्या स्वतःपत्ती स्टेजवर येणार, तुमची सकाळ दिठ्ठी निघून जाणार आणि तुम्ही सम्मादिठ्ठीला येणार. आणि जेथपर्यंत हे होत नाही तेथपर्यंत तुमची कुठलीही दिठ्ठी असली तरी सुद्धा ती मीची इच्छाच आहे किंवा सकाळ दिठ्ठी नाही आहे, ती सम्मादिठ्ठी नाही आहे, ती तुमची मिच्छा दिठ्ठीच आहे. त्याच्यामुळे इतर याच्याप्रमाणे तुम्ही समजा हे 84,000 मॅचही झाले तरी सुद्धा याने तुम्हाला वैयक्तिकरित्या काही फायदा होणार नाहीये. अकॅडमिक्स म्हणा किंवा असं इतर लोकांना जे अभ्यास करतात सुत्तांचा याचा त्याचा, त्यांच्यासाठी कदाचित त्या गोष्टीचं महत्व राहील, परंतु तुमच्यासाठी त्याचं काही एक विशेष महत्व असणार नाही. तर इम्पॉर्टंट थिंग जर तुम्ही हे याच्यातनं जर समजा हे राहून गेलं तुमचं व्हायचं की जी ऍडिशनल म्हणजे महत्वाची गोष्ट आहे की तुम्ही स्वतःपन्न व्हायचे राहून गेलात, तर व्हॉट एव्हर अदर थिंग्स यू हॅव अचीव्ड वुडंट बी व्हेरी बेनिफिशियल टू यू. सो दॅट इज द पॉइंट Bhante इज ट्राइंग टू मेक. अदर थिंग दॅट इन म्हणजे त्याच्या सपोर्ट मध्ये जे Bhante म्हणाले की राहुल झाला किंवा शिवली झाले किंवा Bhante सोपाक वगैरे यांची नावं घेतली, तर यांना मॅथमॅटिक्स आणि याचा काही एक संबंध नव्हता. त्यांनी फक्त तो धम्म कॉम्प्रहेंड केला आणि ते अर्हत झाले किंवा स्वतःपन्नाच्या पुढे गेले किंवा धम्माच्या मार्गावर आले. तर हा त्याच्यातला सगळ्यात महत्वाचा मुद्दा Bhante मांडतात आहे.
थँक्यू पंकज.
या तुम्हाला काही फॉलोअप प्रश्न आहे का कारभारी सर?
Does he have any other questions on that?
Yeah, I'm asking him that, Bhante.
Okay.
तुम्ही अनम्यूट करू शकता स्वतःला आणि विचारा मग तुम्हाला काही अजून त्याच्यावर फॉलोअप असेल तर. पण Bhanteंनी असं असं उत्तर दिलेलं आहे. अजूनही कोणाला जर मराठीत काही ट्रान्सलेशन करून हवं असेल ना तर मी प्रयत्न करू शकतो Bhanteंना इंग्लिशमध्ये विचारायचा आणि Bhante काय सांगतात आहे त्याचं मराठीत सांगायचा पण मी प्रयत्न करेन. तर जर तुम्हाला प्रश्न असतील तर कृपया मराठीत विचारू शकता तुम्ही. अनम्यूट करा आणि विचारा. So Bhante looks like he doesn't have a follow-up after that.
Okay.
कारभारी सर तुम्हाला हे म्हणजे कळलं का Bhanteंनी काय म्हटलं ते तितकं तरी म्हणजे तुमच्या याच्यात आलंय का की तुम्हाला फॉलोअप नसला तरी सुद्धा? ओके. अजून एक गोष्ट जी मला सांगायची होती, Bhanteंनी आताच प्रॉमिस केलेलं आहे की जर तुम्हाला काही प्रश्न असतील जे तुम्हाला आता ग्रुपमध्ये विचारायचे नाही आहेत तर Bhanteंना प्लीज मेसेज पाठवा आणि भंते तुम्हाला तुमच्या प्रश्नाची उत्तरं देण्यासाठी वेगळा वेळ देतील. 24 तासाच्या आतमध्ये भंते म्हणाले की दे विल कम बॅक टू यू टू सेट अप अ टाइम. मग जेव्हा तुम्हाला आणि भंतेंना कन्व्हिनियंट असेल तेव्हा मग भंते फक्त तुमच्या प्रश्नाची उत्तरं देण्यासाठी तुम्हाला वेळ देऊ शकतात. जर तुम्हाला ग्रुपमध्ये असा प्रश्न ग्रुपमध्ये विचारायला थोडा संकोच वाटत असेल तर. पण शक्यतोवर कसं आहे ना, ग्रुपमध्ये जर तुम्ही प्रश्न विचारला तर त्याच्यातनं दुसऱ्याच्या मनातल्या काही शंका असतील ज्या त्याला आत्ता जाणवत नसतील, पण त्या प्रश्नातनं त्या दूर व्हायला मदत होऊ शकतं. त्याच्यामुळे ग्रुपमध्ये विचारलं तर छानच होईल. पण तुम्ही बघा, म्हणजे तसं तुम्ही भंतेंना मेसेज पाठवला तर भंते तुम्हाला वेळ देतो म्हणाल. Bhante, looks like he doesn't have any follow-up questions. So, yeah, he
Okay.
understood.
Anyone else has any questions?
Let's wait for that, Bhante.
The chat box, we have one question. Like, how did Buddha die? What was the medical cause of his death?
What was the reason of his death?
Yeah, I mean the medical cause of his death and how he died.
Well, he had a natural death and he was supposed to die at that time. And we don't need to look at these things anyway to become Sothapanna, you know. And no one will be able to prove. There are so many different opinions on how he died. And we can go on talking about them, but that's not going to help us to become Sothapanna.
ओके. कारभारी जर तुम्हाला काही म्हणजे तुम्ही अनम्यूट केलं, तुम्हाला विचारायचं काही?
हा नाही, म्हणजे आता तुम्ही सांगितलं, भंतेने सांगितलं आचार्य बुद्धघोषाने जे लिहून ठेवलेलं आहे धम्मसंगीनीचे अट्टकथा, तर त्याच्यात जे जेवढे सूत्र मेन्शन केलेले आहेत प्रत्येक ह्याचे विनयाचे, अभिधम्माचे आणि सुत्तपिटकचे, सुत्तपिटक मधले सगळेच निकाय पूर्ण आले, परत पुन्हा हे आले खुद्दक निकाय आले, गाथा आल्या. तर ते सूत्र म्हणजे ज्याप्रमाणे आता मी सांगितलं आपल्याला धम्मपदाचे 26 वर्ग आहेत, म्हणजे 26 उपदेश समजायचे की 423 गाथा आहेत, त्या गाथाचा उपदेश पकडायचा आहे. ज्याप्रमाणे भगवान बुद्धांनी काही वेळेसला प्रश्न उत्तर अशा स्वरूपात उत्तर दिलेले आहेत, समोरच्यांचा जो प्रश्न आहे त्याला उत्तर दिले. म्हणजे प्रश्न हा एक स्कंद पकडायचा, उत्तर हा एक पकडायचा, की पूर्ण सूत्राचा सारांश एक पकडायचा. कारण याच्यात वैयक्तिक ह्याचा काही नाही, म्हणजे जे साहित्यामध्ये आहे ते साहित्य कुठेतरी मॅच झालं पाहिजे, हा माझा विषय आहे. जसं सम्राट अशोकाने 84,000 स्तूप बांधले धर्मस्कंदाच्या नावावरती, म्हणजे ही जी परंपरा आली याला कुठंतरी एक सूत्रता असणं आवश्यक आहे असं मला वाटतं. वैयक्तिक ह्याच्यावर ह्याचा काही माझा उद्देश नाही. समाजापर्यंत जे काही उपदेश जातात, 84,000 कशामुळे बांधले की त्यांच्या गुरुनं त्यांना विचारलं की म्हणून तर 84,000 स्तूप विहार असे बांधले, म्हणजे ते चुकीचं पडलं जाईल असं वाटतं मला पर्सनली, वैयक्तिक. तर तिथं कुठंतरी ते साहित्याच्या स्वरूपामध्ये एक सूत्रता येणं आवश्यक आहे साहित्यामध्ये. बरे वैयक्तिक त्याचा जरी फायदा नसेल पण साहित्याला तर ते जोडलं पाहिजे का नाही? हॅलो.
ठीक आहे कारभारी साहेब, मी विचारतो तुमचा प्रश्न. परंतु मला वाटतं की भंतेंचं जे काही हे आहे, जे म्हणजे आता आय नो भंते फॉर लॉंग टाइम, द कॉन्सेप्ट, महत्वाचा उद्देश जो भंतेंचा आहे तो आहे की त्यांच्याकडे असलेल्या ज्ञानातून, त्यांना असलेल्या याच्या माहितीतून तुम्हाला स्वतःपत्ती फळापर्यंत नेणे, मार्गापर्यंत नेणे. दॅट इज ऑल हिज कॉन्सन्ट्रेशन इज. तेच त्यांचा महत्वाचा उद्देश आहे. इतर याच्यामध्ये हे कसे होतात हे प्रश्न आहेत, त्याचे उत्तर आहेत. भंतेंचं काय एखादं मत पडेल ते तुम्हाला मान्य होणार नाही, पुन्हा त्याच्यावरनं डिस्कशन्स होतील आणि कदाचित भंतेंकडे पूर्ण याचे उत्तर पण नसतील. ठीक आहे, मी पण तरी तुमचा प्रश्न विचारतो मी भंतेंना. मी फक्त
ऐकून घ्या. पहिलं लिपिबद्ध कुठं झालंय? आता महाराष्ट्रात काय, महाराष्ट्राच्या पूर्ण नॅशनल लेवलवरती बऱ्याचशा पालीच्या स्कॉलरला विचारलं, कुणीही त्याचं उत्तर मला मिळालेलं नाही. 2 वर्ष झालं.
हो सर, मी विचारतो तुमचा प्रश्न. मी विचारतो, म्हणजे शंका आहे तुम्हाला कुठे कुठे, याच्यामुळे आपल्या मनातल्या शंका राहून जातात, तर मी विचारतो तुमचा प्रश्न, काही हरकत नाही.
हो हो,
ठीक आहे.
Pankaj, can you ask Dr. Kabari what is his purpose of learning Buddhism or Buddha Dhamma?
ओके ओके भंते, या कारभारी सर, तुम्ही भंतेंच्या प्रश्नाचं उत्तर देऊ शकता का, की तुम्हाला बुद्ध धम्म शिकण्यामागचा तुमचा पर्पज काय आहे, याच्यावर काही तुम्ही कॉमेंट करू शकता?
धम्म स्वतःला समजणं महत्वाचं आहे. जोपर्यंत स्वतःला आपल्याला काही समजत नाही तोपर्यंत आपण इतरांना सांगू शकत नाही. स्वतः तर ते समजणं आवश्यक आहे ना. ते काही समजलं जातं म्हणतोय आपण. स्वतः जर लंगडा असेल तर तो दुसऱ्या लंगड्याला काय सहारा दे? म्हणजे स्वतः अगोदर परिपूर्ण होणं, जी काही माहिती आहे बुद्ध धम्म आणि संघाविषयी, ती तर अवगत होणं आवश्यक आहे आपल्याला. ज्याप्रमाणे मेडिटेशन मध्ये शील, समाधी आणि प्रज्ञा आहे, ज्याप्रमाणे 4 आर्य सत्य आहेत, आर्य अष्टांगिक मार्ग आहेत, वेगवेगळ्या मार्गाने वेगवेगळ्या कन्सेप्टने ते मांडण्याचा प्रयत्न करणं, आकलन करणं, समजून घेणं आणि इतरांना सांगणं.
अच्छा, हा ठीक आहे. सो भंते, येस येस, आय विल, मी सांगतो भंतेंना. Bhante, so he has multiple motives. He wants to understand the Dhamma himself, and after understanding, he also wants to teach it to others, so that he's making sure that he participates in helping spreading the Buddhism, and these sort of. So he has been trying to get answer to this 84,000 mathematical matching to a lot of Pali scholars in India, and for few years now, 2 years is what he said, he didn't get any answer to these things. So it's kind of a curiosity sort of thing in his mind, which could become like a mental block for him right now. He's just kind of trying to overcome that. That is where he is at right now, Bhante.
All right. Please tell him that if he wants to get the benefit of Buddha Dhamma, he should start with Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. You know, whatever we do, we should go step by step, isn't it? You know, when a child wants to have education, he's not going to jump into grade 10 straight away. He will start with grade 1, right? Then go to grade 2, year 3, year 4, and so on. Then grade university entrance, then bachelor's, master's, PhD, whatever after that. Similarly, Buddha Dhamma, he has to go step by step. He's trying to run all over the place. And he should start with Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, the first sutra that Lord Buddha delivered. Please ask him to read that, study that thoroughly. And if he wants more information on that, ask him to listen to our sermons. Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3. Then he will get a good idea of what Buddha Dhamma is and what is the purpose of learning, following, and practicing Buddha Dhamma. Without knowing what it is and without knowing the purpose, obviously he will get stuck because he doesn't know what he's doing. So sorry, you know, if it comes out, I don't mean to be rude. I do apologize if it hurts his feelings. But you see, you have, whatever you do, you have to do it methodically and step by step. Otherwise, you end up in a mess. That's where he's right now. So my advice to him is start from the beginning. Go to the first sermon that Lord Buddha delivered, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. Learn that, comprehend that. That's all that he needs. Then he will know what Buddha Dhamma is all about. Can you please explain that to him?
Yes, Bhante. Yeah. कारभारी सर, भंते म्हणतात आहे की समजा एखाद्या मुलाला जर एखादा विषय शिकायचा असेल तर त्याला कसं प्रायमरी पासनं सेकंडरी 10वी असं करत करत PhD पर्यंत वगैरे जावं लागेल. त्याप्रमाणे बुद्ध धम्म आपल्याला शिकत असताना आपण आपली सुरुवात ही धम्मचक्र प्रवर्तन सूत्रापासून करून त्याला कॉम्प्रहेंड करून जर आपण शिकलो तर आपल्याला पहिल्यांदा तर यातलं हे कळेल की ते बुद्ध धम्म शिकण्यामागचा आपला उद्देश काय असला पाहिजे किंवा काय असावा, किंवा आणि दुसरी गोष्ट जी कळेल ती की बुद्ध धम्मामध्ये नक्की कशाशी रिलेटेड गोष्टी सांगण्यात आलेल्या आहेत. हे एकदा का तुमचं कॉम्प्रहेंड झालं तर मग तिथून पुढे तुम्ही मार्ग शोधू शकता. आणि कॉम्प्रहेंड म्हणजे फक्त हा इथेच फक्त थोडासा हे होतो की कॉम्प्रहेंड किंवा आकलन ज्याला आपण म्हणतो, हे फक्त आपल्याला असं वैचारिक पातळीवरचं आकलन नको आहे. हे तुम्ही त्याला काय म्हणता, जसं आपण आता विपश्यना करतो तेव्हा किंवा अजून काही एखादी आपण मेडिटेशन करतो तर तेव्हा आपल्याला ते त्या मनाच्या पातळीवर कळलं पाहिजे, तसं आकलन करून घेण्याची हे असेल. म्हणजे तसं जर केलं आपण तर आपल्याला त्या बुद्ध धम्म शिकण्यामागचा जे काही उद्देश असेल किंवा कशाविषयी बुद्धांनी गोष्टी सांगितलेल्या आहेत, नक्की काय बुद्धांचा भर आहे, कशावर बुद्धांचा भर आहे, आणि महत्वाची गोष्ट म्हणजे की बुद्ध धम्म का आपण शिकला पाहिजे, या चारही गोष्टी आपल्या लक्षात येतील. आणि भंते म्हणतात आहे की अदरवाईज
म्हणजे
तुम्ही हे
तेच म्हणतोय आपल्याला,
की वाईल्ड
त्याप्रमाणे आपण परियती म्हणतो.
नाही, मला भंतेंचं पहिले उत्तर सांगू द्यात तुम्हाला, मग मी तुमचा प्रश्न विचारतो पुन्हा. तर अशा पद्धतीने जर तुम्ही फिरत म्हणजे केलं नाही तर आपण वाईल्ड गुस चेस ज्याला म्हणत आहेत भंते, ते म्हणजे कसं की कुठल्या तरी गोष्टीच्या मागे धावत राहणे, अंधारात धावत राहणे, आणि आपण कशाच्या मागे धावतो आहे आणि काय पकडायचा प्रयत्न करतो आहे ते माहित नसताना फक्त अंधारात धावत राहणे त्या वस्तूच्या मागे. वाईल्ड गूस चेज असा हे सॉर्ट ऑफ काय प्रोवर्ब ज्याला म्हणतात, म्हण असल्यासारखी आहे ही इंग्लिशमध्ये. यू गो ऑन अ वाईल्ड गूस चेज म्हणजे काय, तुम्हाला कशाच्या मागे धावताय तुम्ही, काही ते तुमच्या हाती सापडण्यासारखं नाही आहे.
नाही, तो विषय नाही सर. माझा विषय असा आहे की आपण पाली साहित्यामध्ये परियती पटिपती, परियती म्हणजे बुद्ध वचन पूर्ण आलं, पटिपती आणि पटिभेदन या विपश्यना साधनेवरती आलं, किंवा त्याचे आकलन करणं, समजून घेणं. पटिपती आणि पटिवेदन आणि परियती ही शासन, बुद्ध शासन हे प्रथमतः लिपिबद्ध सिलोन मध्ये झाले प्रथम. तर त्यामुळं माझी शंका आहे, इथं महाराष्ट्रात काय पूर्ण भारतभर मी ज्या वेळेसला ज्या पाली स्कॉलरला विचारलं की म्हणजे हे जे शासन आहे पाली साहित्यामध्ये बुद्ध वचन जेवढं आहे जे उपलब्ध आहे, इथं सांगतात की बघा ते अमुक स्वाऱ्या झाल्या तमुक स्वाऱ्या झाल्या त्याच्यात ते नष्ट झालं. भारतात झालं ठीक आहे, पण भारतात जर झालं त्या अगोदर तर ते सिंहलीमध्ये झालं ना लिप्यंतर, मग सिंहलीमध्ये तरी ते उपलब्ध असायला पाहिजेत. म्हणून माझा शंका आहे की सिंहलीमध्ये त्यांच्या लिपीमध्ये जरी असलं तरी ते मॅथमॅटिकली, जसं फक्त सूत्राचं आता दीघनिकाय आणि मध्यम निकायमध्ये ह्याच्यात काही एक तीळ मात्र शंका नाही. जेवढे सूत्र त्यांनी आचार्य बुद्धघोषने दिले तेवढे मिळतात. अंगुत्तर निकाय आणि संयुक्त निकायमध्ये इव्हन 40% पण मिळत नाहीत, 30% मिळतात, बाकी सगळे आउट ऑफ दाखवतात. म्हणजे बुद्धघोषाची इथं मिस्टेक आहे की तिकडली मिस्टेक आहे. मिस्टेक कुणाची आहे? मग इथं प्रश्न येतो की 2000 उपदेश हे श्रावक संघाचे आले, 82,000 उपदेश भगवान बुद्धाचे आले, टोटल मिळून 84,000 आहेत. ह्याच्यात कुठेतरी मॅच होणं आवश्यक आहे. आज साहित्यिक रूपामध्ये वैयक्तिक ह्याचा काही माझा वैयक्तिक कोणाच्या उपयोगातही नाही, पण साहित्य ज्या वेळेसला उपलब्ध राहतं तर ते इतरांना, इतर सामाजिक लेवलवरचे जे संशोधक आहेत त्यांना ते वाव मिळतो.
मी फक्त माझा मी फक्त तुम्हाला एक माझा वैयक्तिक अनुभव सांगतो याच्यातला, की मी भंतेंना भेटायला मागच्या वर्षी लंडनला गेलो नोव्हेंबरमध्ये, ठीक आहे. आणि लंडनच्या तिथल्या लायब्ररीमध्ये, ब्रिटिश लायब्ररीमध्ये, तिथे ना उत्खननात शिलोन मधली सापडलेली एक त्रिपिटकाची कॉपी आहे. त्याच्यातले सुत्त ना ते असं एक एक सुत्त ते असे कधी कधी डिस्प्लेला ठेवतात आणि कधी वाचायला देतात. ठीक आहे. तर त्याच्यापैकी ज्यावेळी आम्ही तिथे त्या लायब्ररीला व्हिजिट केली मी भंतेंसोबत, तेव्हा आम्हाला महासती सत्र पठाण सुत्त पाहायला मिळालं. ठीक आहे. हे असं त्या ताम्राच्या पट्टीवर लिहिलेले आहेत. तुमच्याकडचा आवाज जर हे नसेल तर तर त्या ताम्राच्या पट्टीवर ते लिहिलेले आहेत ते. आणि काय असं आहे, पूर्ण 53 पट्ट्या होत्या, 2 फूट रुंदीच्या, म्हणजे अशा लांबीच्या 2 फूट आणि रुंदीला साधारणतः 2.5 इंच, 2 ते 2.5 इंच एकेका पट्टी ओळीवर असं लांबच्या लांब त्यांनी लिहिलेलं आहे. ते वरपासून तिथपर्यंत असं लिहिलेलं पूर्ण म्हणजे 2 फूट पर्यंत एकसारखं लिहत गेलेले आहेत ते. आणि 2 वाक्य किंवा जेव्हा तेव्हा त्याच्यामध्ये त्यांनी काय स्क्रॅचेस केलेले आहेत, ते सेंटेन्स संपलं म्हणून. ठीक आहे. त्याचं आणि आता जे आपल्याला त्रिपिटक वाचन मिळतं ना, त्रिपिटक म्हणून जे काही समजा आता आपल्याला उपलब्ध साहित्य आहे, आम्ही त्याचे फोटो काढले. तिथून गेल्यानंतर भंतेंसोबत बसून आम्ही ते भंतेंनी ते सिंहलमध्ये वाचले ते याच्यातले, आणि आम्ही त्याचं ट्रान्सलेशन याच्यात पाहिलं की काय तर शब्दानं शब्द मॅच होतो. ठीक आहे. आता हे सांगण्यामागचा उद्देश काय आहे, याच्याशी तुमचा 84,000 नंबरशी काही एक संबंध नाही, पण सांगायचा उद्देश हा आहे की जे काही साहित्य अवेलेबल आहे ते मोस्ट लाईकली इज करेक्ट बिकॉज द मेथड दे यूज टू सेव्ह इट, त्या पूर्णच्या पूर्ण त्या तांबड्यात म्हणजे त्या ताम्र पट्टी जी होती ना त्याच्यावर कुठेही मिस्टेक नाही आहे. स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक ज्याला म्हणतो ना आपण, तसं नाही आहे ते. म्हणजे प्रत्येक वेळी ती पूर्ण 2 फूट लांबीची पट्टी आणि त्याच्यावर लिहिलेले ते पूर्ण वाक्य, त्याच्यामध्ये कुठेही लिहत असताना त्यांना जर एखादी स्पेलिंग इकडे तिकडे झालं असेल, अक्षर लिहिताना इकडे तिकडे गेलं असेल, तर त्यांनी ते डिस्कार्ड केलं, त्यांनी ते फेकून दिलं, पुन्हा लिहायला सुरुवात केली.
म्हणजे
आणि नाही म्हणजे सांगायचा उद्देश ऐकून घ्या पहिल्यांदा. सांगायचा उद्देश हा आहे की त्यांच्याकडे जे काही अवेलेबल साहित्य आहे, म्हणजे ऍटलिस्ट भंतेंच्या माहितीप्रमाणे जे काही ओरिजिनल त्रिपिटक, भंते सुरुवातीलाच सांगतात की द मोस्ट ऑथेंटिकेट ओरिजिनल कॉपी ऑफ त्रिपिटक which was written after 456 years after the Mahaparinibbana of Bhagwan Buddha. That was written by the Arhant monks and that is the only copy. This is that copy. ओके. तर याच्या पलीकडे इतर अठ्ठकथा ह्या किंवा अजून काही जे काही तुम्हाला बाकी ऍडिशनल साहित्य सापडतं, दॅट गेट्स ऍज अन ऍड ऑन. सो इफ यू वॉन्ट टू गो, जर तुम्हाला अगदी ओरिजिनल सोर्सेस पाहिजे असे आहेत किंवा तिथं जायचं असेल, तर आपल्याला ह्या फक्त सुत्तांपर्यंत जाता येईल. त्याच्या पलीकडे त्याच्यावरच्या अठ्ठकथा याच्यावर किंवा टीका अनुटीका याच्यावर तुम्हाला फारसं विसंबून राहता येणार नाही.
नाही त्याच्यावरती
मी आपल्याला दोघांमध्ये डिस्कस नाही करायचं. मी तुमचा प्रश्न भंतेंना विचारतो. फक्त माझा एक अनुभव तुम्हाला त्याच्यातला सांगायचा होता की ह्या ज्या शंका येतात ना आपल्या मनामध्ये की ह्या कुठे आहेत, किती आहेत, कशा आहेत, तर हे असं ते हाती पकडून जेव्हा आम्ही ते पाहिलं आणि अगदी शब्द त्याच्यातला मॅच होतो. आणि त्या एकाही माझ्याकडे मी त्याचे फोटोज काढलेले आहेत. मी झालं तर या ग्रुपवर ते फोटोजही शेअर करेल की त्या सुत्ताचे आम्ही जे पाहिले आहे. आणि त्या कॉपीमध्ये धम्मचक्क प्रवर्तन सुत्त जे लिहिलेलं आहे ना, ते सुवर्ण याच्यावर लिहिलेलं आहे. तर ते शक्यतोवर ते पाहायला मिळत नाही. पण त्यांनी पाहिलेली आहे ती कॉपी, मला पाहायला मिळालेलं नाही, कारण ते कधीतरीच अवेलेबल असतं ते हे पाहायला.
अच्छा.
आणि मग त्याचे फोटो वगैरे ते काढू देत नाहीत. ठीक आहे.
पण
याचे फोटो काढून दिले
म्हटलं
त्यांनी, पण ते बाकी याचे काढून दिले नाही. पण ठीक आहे, मी तुमचा प्रश्न विचारतो भंतेंना. भंते,
Yes.
so he is still kind of concerned to see that somewhere in the Buddhist studies all this material that is available has to come as a single set without
As a what?
as a single set without much discrepancy between anything like that. And is that something available in Sinhal Tripitaka Bhante, that he can say like, okay, or you can suggest that this is the master copy or the most authenticate or something like that? That is, he's trying to get to those kind of things, if that is something that you can point him to.
You see, now he's trying to work out 84,000. Lord Buddha has never mentioned of 84,000 anywhere.
Right,
You know,
Bhante, yeah.
the Dhamma points that Lord Buddha has mentioned are millions. It's not 84,000. You see, Sua Asua Dahasa does not mean 84,000. This way, the wrong translation Buddha Ghosa has done purposely to mislead people. And he has, Buddha Ghosa has succeeded, but because there are millions of people like this Dr. Kabari, who are looking for things that do not exist. You see? Now, ask him whether he has read the first sutra, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. That's where a Buddhist person should start from. If a person is interested in learning Buddha Dhamma, first thing they must do is learn the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. That's the first sutra that Lord Buddha delivered. Why did he deliver that first sutra? And why did, 330 million superior beings from 20 Brahmaloka and 6 Divyaloka came to listen to that? It's all, the names of the Brahmaloka and the names of the Divyaloka are given in the sutra itself. Any Tripitaka, he will look at that information is there. Ask him to just read the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra from any Tripitaka and try and comprehend that. Then he will understand what Buddha Dhamma is. He is just running around because he has not learned it properly. You see, if a child is told that he has to get a PhD and he has not started from grade 1, the proper education system, and by the time he is 20, they send him to grade 10 and start from here, he would know where to start. So similarly, Dr. Kabari has not read the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, the first sutra. Please ask him to read that first. Then he will realize what Buddha Dhamma is and what he should do with it. What is the purpose of studying Buddha Dhamma? You see, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra clearly explains the purpose of Buddha Dhamma is firstly to become Sothapanna, right? And then Sakudagami, thirdly Anagami, and fourth Arahat. So what do you need to become Sothapanna first? You need to comprehend the Four Noble Truths as per Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra and the Sothapanna Sutra, right? Instead of doing that, trying to work out other things is completely going down the wrong track. When you read, wrong books and Tripitakas that are incorrectly translated, such as done by Buddha Ghosa. Buddha Ghosa prepared the 17 books called Visuddhimagga, and most of the Tripitakas that were written later were written from Visuddhimagga, because Buddha Ghosa went to Sri Lanka 912 years after Lord Buddha passed away, and he took this old Tripitaka and translated it to Pali. And in translating, he has made so many mistakes, translation errors, because he has confused the Magadhi language with Pali language and Sinhala language. That's 84,000 word he has got from the Sinhala language. You see, the word Sua Asua Dahasak is very close to Asu Hatara Dahasak in Sinhala language. But this is not Sinhala. The Tripitaka is written on Magadhi, not in Sinhala language. So like that, he has made so many wrong translations, which confuses people, you see. That's what has happened to Dr. Kabari, unfortunately. So my advice to Dr. Kabari is, please leave everything else, what you are learning in Buddhism or Buddha Dhamma. Please go and read the first sutra, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, and comprehend the meanings of that, right? Then he will know what Buddha Dhamma is and what is there for. You see? Without knowing that, it's like, it's a totally wild goose chase, running here and there, trying to learn Abhidhamma, trying to work out mathematics, and trying to learn the Vinaya, trying to learn some sutras, and get totally confused.
Okay, Bhante. I will try to explain to him, Bhante. So, Karbari Sahib,
बोला सर.
बंतेंचं पुन्हा तुम्हाला जे सजेशन आहे ते तेच आहे की तुम्ही पहिल्यांदा धम्मचक्र प्रवर्तन सूत्राचं आकलन करा, कॉम्प्रिहेंड करा, आणि त्याच्यातनं जे काही तुम्हाला हे सांगायचं आहे की भगवंतांनी हे सूत्र पहिल्यांदा का दिलं असेल किंवा का दिलं, त्याच्यातनं पंचवग्य भिक्खूंना सोतापन्नापासनं पुढे कसे ते गेले, अनंत पर्यंत कसे गेले, तर हे तुम्ही कॉम्प्रिहेंड करा. आणि याच्यातनं जे काही हे आहे त्याच्यातनं जो तुम्हाला धम्माचा जो काही सार मिळत आहे तो तुमच्या का उपयोगात आणायचा प्रयत्न करा. बाकी इतर गोष्टी ज्या आहेत ते 2 शब्द भंतेंनी जे पालीमध्ये आणि सिंहलमध्ये म्हटले, तर या पालीमधल्या शब्दाचा अर्थ 84,000 होत नाही, पण तोच शब्द जेव्हा सिंहलमध्ये म्हटला तेव्हा त्या सिंहलमध्ये म्हटलेल्या शब्दाचा अर्थ मात्र 84,000 होतो. ठीक आहे. परंतु जे काही लिहिलेलं होतं ते मात्र सिंहलमध्ये लिहिलेलं नव्हतं, ते पालीमधलं होतं किंवा मागधी मधलं होतं. जे काही लिहिलेलं बुद्धघोष, आचार्य बुद्धघोषांना जे सापडलं ते काही सिंहल मधलं लिहिलेलं नव्हतं. सिंहल फक्त स्क्रिप्ट वापरलेली होती. ठीक आहे. ते जे वापरलेलं होतं, जे काही लिहिलेलं होतं, जे काही शब्द होते ते सिंहलचे शब्द नव्हते. त्याच्यामुळे त्यांनी जर ते सिंहलच्या शब्द अज्युम करून जर ट्रान्सलेशन केलं असेल तर हे अशा प्रकारचे चुकीचे ट्रान्सलेशन असतील त्याच्यात, आणि बऱ्याचशा मिस्टेक त्यांनी केलेल्या आहेत असं भंतेंचं म्हणणं आहे. आणि त्याच्यामुळे त्या मिस्टेक्स कुठल्या आणि काय आणि हे शोधत बसायचं किंवा त्याच्या मागे धावण्यात तुमचा हे काही हे नाहीये. तर दॅट इज ऑल भंते इज ट्राइंग टू टेल यू.
ते ठीक आहे. भंतेच्या मध्ये दुमत नाही. माझं इथं लिटरेचर परियतीवरती आहे. परियती म्हणजे बुद्ध शासन त्रिपिटक. त्रिपिटक मध्ये जे काय उपलब्ध आहे इतर समाजाच्या लोकांना ज्या वेळेसला हा कुठेतरी क्ल्यू मिळतो त्यावेळेसला ते मला तोंड द्यायला आपले लोक कमी पडतात. तिथे आलं का लक्षात की तुमच्याच ग्रंथाने असं आहे आणि तुम्ही काय वर्तन करून सांगता दुसऱ्यांना. म्हणजे इथं आपले लोक तिथे कमी पडले जातात. फक्त साहित्यामध्ये वैयक्तिक हित कोणाला त्याच्यामध्ये दोष देण्याचा प्रश्न नाही, वैयक्तिक त्याचा लाभ नाही, पण साहित्य निर्मिती ज्या वेळेसला होते तर साहित्याच्या निर्मिती बरोबर ते असणं आवश्यक आहे. हा वैयक्तिक प्रश्न आहे माझा. आणि त्याच्यात तिथं काय होतं की जर भगवान बुद्धाच्या श्रावक संघाचे 2000 उपदेश आहेत तर त्या 2000 जसं शेवटी आनंद आहे, त्याच्यात महाकश्यप आहे, सारीपुत्र मोगलायन आहे, बरेचसे भिक्षू आहेत, काही भिक्षुणी आहेत. हे ज्या वेळेसला अंगुत्तर निकायमध्ये 82 का 80 श्रावक संघांची यादी दिली, त्यांचेच उपदेश 2000 जर पकडायचे म्हटलं म्हणजे हे उपदेश पकडायचे कसे, हा इथं प्रश्न आहे. म्हणजे ते चुकीचं आहे तर चुकीचं आहे हे म्हणता येणार नाही, बुद्धवचन चुकीचं आहे हे म्हणू शकत नाहीत. म्हणजे कमी कुठं आहे हे शोधणं तर काम आहे साहित्याचं. आता वैयक्तिक त्याचा कोणाला त्याचा फायदा नाही, तोटा तर नाहीच नाही, पण फायदाही नाही म्हणता येणार नाही. पण साहित्याची निर्मिती ज्या वेळेसला होते त्यावेळेसला ते चिरकालपर्यंत टिकत राहते. ते तोंड दाखवायला किंवा तिथं बोट ठेवायला की तुमच्या साहित्यामध्ये असं आहे. आता तुमचे ह्याच्यामध्ये मी काही म्हणून तुमचे पर्सनल कॉन्टॅक्ट मागितले. इतर साहित्य ज्या वेळेसला वाचतो बऱ्याचशा ठिकाणी भगवान बुद्धाचा उपदेश, भगवान बुद्धांनी नाव रामायण महाभारताच्या या रामाच्या आणि कृष्णाचे कधी नावं घेतले नाही, पण त्यांच्या साहित्यामध्ये भगवान बुद्धाचे नावं आलेले आहेत. म्हणजे त्याचाच अर्थ असा होतो की हे रामायण महाभारत गीता वगैरे हे सगळे भगवान बुद्धाच्या नंतरचे रचले गेलेले आहे. हे ज्यावेळेसला आम्ही लोकांना ठामपणे सांगतो त्यावेळेसला इथं ते लोक परत पुन्हा हे करतात हे तुमचं आहे ते चुकीचं आहे, हे अयोग्य आहे. काय हा 84,000 मग हिंदुइझम वाल्याने 84,000 युनिटचा उपयोग केला. शब्दप्रयोग त्याने हे काढला तिकडे चोरी केला ना. 84,000 उपदेशाच्या ऐवजी 84,000 युनिट केला की मनुष्य ज्या वेळेसला जन्मतो त्यावेळेसला 84,000 युनिटूनच मनुष्य जन्म प्राप्त होतो, असं नाहीये ना.
Pankaj, can I say something?
Yes, Bhante, yes.
I think he's totally confused. 90% of the Buddhist people who try to learn Buddhism the wrong way get confused. Now, let me ask him 3 simple questions. Ask him this. Ask him question 1. Has he read Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra? Right? Question 1. Question 2. Does he believe that the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra was the first sutra that Lord Buddha delivered to the world after attaining Buddhahood? The first one. If he believes those 2, if he doesn't believe those 2, then there's nothing more I can say to him. If he believes those 2, the third question is, does he believe in what Lord Buddha has said in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra? Lord Buddha said, the top priority as a Buddhist person is to comprehend Dhamma and come to Sammaditthi, which is coming to the correct path, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. All the other things that he is going on about, and exactly, I call it Buddha Gosism, because that's not going to help anyone anywhere. That will help people to, conduct classes and show people what they know and talk about Abhidhamma and so on, display their knowledge and so on, maybe pass exams, get PhDs, but it will not help him to become Sothapanna. So please ask him those 3 questions, whether he has read the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra and whether he believes what Lord Buddha has, whether he believes that that is the first sutra that Lord Buddha delivered, and whether he believes what is in it. And if he doesn't, if he doesn't agree with all 3, then there's nothing more I can say to him, right? Because he's totally confused. And if he agrees, then he should go and read that. And everything is there. As a Buddhist person, what he should know, everything is there in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. That's where Lord Buddha started from. That's what the Panchavagya Bhikkhu started from. And that's where 330 million superior beings started from. And that's where everyone started from. Those who became Sothapanna, Sakudagami and Anagami and Arahat, which is the sole purpose of learning Buddha Dhamma, right? Not to, work out mathematics and talk about all the sutras. He's talking about Anguttara Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Sangyutta Nikaya, then the Uddika Nikaya, Diga Nikaya. One can talk about all the things. You see, there, Lord Buddha has said there were certain monks during his time. There were 2 types of monks. The first kind, they comprehended the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, the contents of it, and became Sothapanna, and then followed the meditation techniques explained in the Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra and went all the way up to Arahathood, or at least attained Sothapanna stage by comprehending the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. Then there was another minority of monks who, instead of practicing Dhamma, they tried to learn everything, all the sutras that Lord Buddha explained, and they went around preaching Dhamma. But they never comprehended Dhamma. And Lord Buddha said there are various stories where Lord Buddha said that such and such person died and went to one of the 4 hells because they did not become Sothapanna. So the purpose of Buddha Dhamma is to attain firstly to Sothapanna, then the rest. And that is explained in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. That's where he should start from. So please, I repeat, please ask him whether he has read the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, and if not, he should go back and read it. If he has read it, ask him whether he believes that Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra was the first sutra that Lord Buddha delivered. Second question. And third question is, if he learns and comprehends Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, whether he can become Sothapanna or not. Please ask those three questions from me.
Yes, Bhante, I will ask him those three
You see,
questions.
people who are confused like him, it will take ages to unconfuse them. The best place for them to start is with Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. Unfortunately, a lot of Buddhist people, don't start with Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. The mistake that they make is they first read various books. And then they try to, study the entire Tripitaka, trying to count the number of sutras, then get stuck in this 84,000 business and trying to work out the mathematics, and they get totally confused. You see, that's what not Buddha Dhamma is there for. Buddha Dhamma is there for, firstly, listen to Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, comprehend the contents of it, and become Sothapanna, which is Sammaditi, which means coming to the correct path. That is what Buddha Dhamma is all about. And once a person comes to the correct path, then he will proceed down the path and complete his the 4 stages up to Arahathood. That's all what Buddha Dhamma is all about. Rest is all academic. Buddha Dhamma has been made an academic subject, and people are being offered masters, PhD, and so on. There's nothing wrong with it, but that is not the purpose of Buddha Dhamma. Buddha Dhamma is there to be comprehended, the 4 noble truths, comprehend the 4 noble truths, and attain the 4 Marga, 4 higher status of mind, which is Sothapanna, the first one, then the rest. So please try and explain that to him, ask him those 3 questions. And if he doesn't agree with those 3, if he doesn't agree with Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, then there's nothing else I can say to him.
Can I add something?
Okay.
Can I add something, Pankaj?
Yeah, please. But I before you do that, Naksen, I just wanted Bhante, I will ask him those questions, Bhante, but I just wanted to make sure I pass his point across to you, which is his
Yes.
questions are not for his own purpose. Like, he's not trying to gain personally anything out of these things. He's trying to make sure that these things get answered for literature, so that these things are preserved for next generation and generation after. That is where his interest was coming down to. I just wanted to kind of make
sure. No, that's not the purpose of Buddha Dhamma. Purpose of Buddha Dhamma is to comprehend the 4 noble truths and first become Sothapanna and the rest. So he has got the purpose right.
Okay, Bhante. Okay, I understood, Bhante. But I just wanted to make sure I pass on his questioning, or his trying to get answer was for in a greater goodness of the humanity. If the literature survives, it should be survived in a proper way or in a good way. That is where he was trying to kind of come from.
You see, this is what happens to most people if they start learning Dhamma from here and there without reading the first sutra, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra.
Okay, Bhante. Yeah, Naksen, please go ahead. What you wanted to say?
Exactly. You put, Pankaj, the question, the concern what Dr. Karbari has is on the literature. And
right.
For the literature, what has been written as in history, that is a baseline what has been currently been assumed. But what is the source of truth? The source of truth, Dhamma itself is a source of truth, right? It might not be written completely anywhere in the world, but it has to be comprehended in a way the Buddha has told. And as Bhanteji is saying rightly, it is a Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta where Buddha has given in his first sutta. That is a base. And the source of truth is the base only. So instead of literature, if what has been written by anyone in the world, why don't one concentrate or focus on the source of truth based on the experience and the experimental level, rather than giving a response to the literature, which is a never-ending arguments.
Okay. Yeah. Let me go back to Karbari sir with his questions. So Karbari Sahib, भंतेंनी तुमच्यासाठी 3 प्रश्न विचारायला सांगितले आहेत मला. पहिला प्रश्न आहे की धम्मचक्क प्रवर्तन सूत्र तुम्ही वाचलेलं आहे का, आकलन केलेलं आहे का. दुसरा प्रश्न आहे की तुमच्या आतापर्यंतच्या माहितीनुसार किंवा तुमच्या अंडरस्टँडिंग नुसार, तुमच्या भावनेनुसार म्हणा किंवा तुमच्या समजुतीनुसार म्हणा, तुम्हाला हे पटतंय का की धम्मचक्क प्रवर्तन सूत्र हे पहिलं सर्मन आहे जे बुद्धांनी दिलेलं आहे आणि त्या सर्मन मधून 33 कोटी जे 20 ब्रह्मलोक आणि 6 दिव्य लोकातनं जे काही बीइंग झाले होते ते तिथे प्रेझेंट होते, सोबत पंचवग्य भिक्खूंसोबत. आणि तिसरी गोष्ट जी भंतेंनी त्याच्यातली विचारलेली आहे ती की धम्मचक्क प्रवर्तन सूत्रामध्ये जे माहिती दिलेली आहे, आणि ती माहिती म्हणजे अशी की बुद्ध धम्म किंवा धम्म सांगण्यामागचा बुद्धांचा जो काही उद्देश आहे तो आहे या सगळ्या बीइंग्सना किंवा जे कोणी ऐकत असतील त्यांना सोतापन्न किंवा पुढच्या अवस्थेपर्यंत पोहोचवणे. ह्या 3 गोष्टी तुम्हाला पटतात आहे का, किंवा ह्या 3 प्रश्नाची तुम्हाला उत्तरं द्यायची आहेत. तर मग मी तुम्हाला पुढचं सांगतो. बाकी इतर गोष्टीविषयी बनते तुमचं जे काही म्हणणं आहे की साहित्यामध्ये हे असं आहे आणि तसं आहे, तर त्याच्यामध्ये भंतेंचं म्हणणं फक्त एवढंच आहे की तो बुद्धा धम्माचा उद्देश नाही. ऍज पर द धम्मचक्क प्रवर्तन सूत्र, दॅट इज नॉट द इंटेन्शन, दॅट इज नॉट द सॉर्ट ऑफ आपण गोल नाही आहे तो बुद्ध धम्माच्या शिकवणीचा. त्याच्यामुळे दॅट इज व्हॉट भंते इज ट्राइंग टू से. तर तुम्ही या प्रश्नांची उत्तर सांगा तर मी भंतेंना ते कन्वे करतो.
Let me have a quick word with Dr. Kabari. Dr. Kabari, I'd like to help you to become Sothapanna. Would you like to become Sothapanna? Dr. Kabari, are you still there? He's muted, Pankaj. I can't hear
Yes,
him.
Bhante, I'm asking him to unmute. So yeah, I'm asking him to unmute, Bhante.
Hello.
Dr. Kabari, if you
Yes,
like
sir.
to, would you like to become Sothapanna?
Hello.
Dr.
Karbari
Kabari,
sahab.
would you like to become Sothapanna?
भंतेंचा
हा
प्रश्न
येतोय आवाज
कळतोय?
सर?
हो येतोय आवाज. तुम्हाला भंतेंचा प्रश्न कळलाय का? भंते तुम्हाला विचारतात आहे की तुम्हाला स्वतःपन्न व्हायला आवडेल काय?
हा
तुम्हाला स्वतःला
त्यासाठीच बुद्ध स्वतःपन्न होण्यासाठीच तर सगळा बुद्ध धम्म शिकायचा आहे. कशासाठी?
No, answer me a simple, straightforward answer. Yes or no? Dr. Kabari, just tell me yes or no.
Yes, yes.
Would you like to become Sothapanna?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Then
yes,
I suggest, then I can help you if you listen to my advice. Please read the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra several times and call me back. Then I will explain it to you. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
कळलं का कारभारी सर तुम्हाला? भगवान भंते
You got my
की
number.
धम्मचक्क प्रवर्तन सूत्र
The Tripitaka, which Tripitaka are you using?
वाचतो, परत वाचतो मी. 1-2 वेळेसला वाचतोय, आता परत पुन्हा वाचतो.
आणि कुठलं
You read the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, try and understand what it says, and then call me. Then I will help you from there. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Thank you. Any other questions, anyone?
Thank you very much, Bhante. That is very compassionate of you.
See, unfortunately, this is what has happened to 90% of the Buddhist people, you see. People who are interested in learning Dhamma, they read the wrong things. And unless they are fortunate enough to start with the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, it's very difficult to work out where to begin, what it says. And there are so many wrong translations. I have read 4 Tripitakas and I have seen mistakes, errors, wrong translations in 3 of them. The only one that is error-free, in my opinion, is the one that is at the British Library, the old Tripitaka. Other than that, all the others are translations done in the last 200 years, done by, mostly non-Sothapanna monks or lay people together. And there are errors, translation errors, mistakes, and so on. So that, that unfortunately mislead people and put people in trouble.
Yes, Bhante, I tried to state that point to him, that the only Tripitaka, as per your guidance, would be the one that is at the British Library. And that one is the Tripitaka itself with the suttas, not with any Attakathas or anything in addition, where these other literature might have been kind of available or translated now, and which could be a source of confusion.
Yes.
So yeah, I tried to explain that to him, Bhante, in Marathi. Just
See,
to kind of
Attakatha are the worst things to read. It could totally mislead people unless they know correct Buddha Dhamma. In some cases, Attakatha is useful if someone knows Buddha Dhamma correctly. If someone has comprehended, Dhammacakkappavattana, the contents of Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, certain advanced points, you can get clarification from certain Attakathas. But if you, without understanding the contents of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, if you start reading other things, other books, other Tripitakas and other Attakathas and so on, one would get totally confused. One wouldn't know what Buddha Dhamma is and the purpose of Buddha Dhamma. That is explained in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra explains in very simple terms what is Buddha Dhamma and what is the purpose of it. And that's all we need to know.